Nigeria's revenue from crude oil may be on course to slump in this year as the abundant supply of shale oil to the global market is expected to lead to a reduction in oil price. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on this week's edition of Business Incorporated. I'm Chimezi Ubi Iwawu. Now, since the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, alerted Nigeria and other members that shale gas and oil production will have significant impact on crude oil production in the near term, which will adversely affect the economies of those that heavily depend on crude as their main source of revenue earnings. The Nigerian government and indeed the citizens have been exploring ways of diversifying the economy. Discussions in many fora have been focused on how the country can develop herself and her people away from oil. And so on today's edition of the program, we are actually looking at Nigeria live without oil. One man who chose to make this topic a center of discussion as his law firm celebrated 30 years of existence recently is an oil and gas lawyer and the former chairman session on business law of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. George Etomi. However, the question that seems more appropriate for many is whether a better life with oil is possible. In my conversation with George, his answer was yes. Find out how and why as the program unfolds. Do stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. OPEC, in its 2013 World Oil Outlook, considered shale oil and gas sufficiently important to devote large chunks of its report to a discussion on this new energy source under matters arising. According to the report, the growing importance of shale oil in the world economy has grave implications for Nigeria's crude oil export as its economy faces serious threat owing to the sweet nature of the commodity, which is comparable to the nation's Bonny Light. Here is the scenario. Nigeria supplies the world with Bonny Light, a sweet crude which used to be the preference for some parts of America before the discovery of shale gas in the United States. Shale oil's low sulfur content positions it as a direct competitor to the Bonny Light. The sulfur content of North American crude is expected to decrease from about 1.2% in 2010 to 1.05% in 2018 as sweet crude production from U.S. shale increases. Analysts say the shale trend portends ill for the domestic economy precisely because alternatives to light crude are being discovered in those locations that until recently were the major importers of the Bonny Light. Meanwhile, experts in Nigeria's oil and gas industry have said that the production of shale gas across the globe is a threat to the growth of the country's liquefied natural gas industry. According to Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, shale gas, which is the product of advanced technology, is gradually eroding the anticipated prospects and hope of natural gas as a major income stream for the federal government. It said the development of shale gas was seriously threatening the future of LNG and expressed fear that it would stall new LNG projects in Nigeria. This clearly shows the need to think outside the box.
Look at Lagos. We generate 730,000 tons of plastic and metal annually. Unprocessed, that's about 41 billion naira. When you process it, it rises to 63 billion. And apart from the financial gain, recycling, the waste sector, can create jobs. And we all know we need jobs in Nigeria. After agriculture, worldwide, recycling is the largest employer. In the United States, there are 3.1 million jobs in recycling. We don't have nearly anything close to that here in Nigeria.
But one pertinent question that comes to mind is whether a better life with oil is possible for Nigeria and her people.
The answer I will offer is an emphatic yes. The road to that better life is not too difficult in my view. It requires us to eliminate corruption at all levels of the oil industry.
Today, Nigeria budgets at $78 a barrel. What's happened to the difference between 79 and 110 is a question we should all be asking.
Indeed, no nation truly achieves distinction by being over-dependent on one commodity, and the path to national greatness for Nigeria truly requires economic diversification. When we talk about life without oil, the question that immediately comes to mind is, will there ever be such a life? $1 million question, I guess.